Yeah. Big Baby JTV. My Patreon members gonna get early access to this, and if you already got early access, shouts out to you, part of the Baby Bunch or my new tier, the Revolutionary. Shouts out to y'all. Let's get right into it, man. Power Book 2, Season 1, right? We're talking about Ghost 2, and I'm going to be talking about Season 1. I'm a little late on Season 2, don't judge, but we're going to give you a full review. Well, I'm going to give you a full review, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with this. I'm going to start off with the good. Actually, no, scratch that. We're going to start off with the bad, and then I'm going to give you the good, and then I'm going to give you the final score. Okay? How that sound? Sounds good? Appreciate that. So let me start it off by saying this is spoilers. And I'm going to tell you when I say the spoilers. But first off, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of the entire plot. At least a premise, an idea of the plot, right? So if you watched Ghost, the original Power show, right? So the original Power ended with Ghost getting killed by Tariq, his son, right? And now Tariq got caught up in some ish at his old school, right? And he moved to a new school, which is more fancy, an Ivy League school. But he still has to deal with the fact that Tasha was blamed for killing Ghost. And he has to deal with a lot of things in his new school, right? Ivy League school, he's in university, first year, he's trying to make it through, right? So let's talk about the bad, right? Let's talk about the bad. And let me just warn you right now, we're starting to talk spoilers. So get off here. If you're in Canada, go on Amazon Prime, you know what I'm saying? Or go on Crave TV and get to Stars and get to watching it. If you're in the States, y'all go on Stars and y'all order it and y'all start watching it. I'm warning you right now. Let's go. Okay, so, right, at this point, right? What happens, the bad thing about the show, one of the worst things about the show is too many storylines. Why do we love the original Power show? We loved it because it was simple. It was about Ghost, it was about Angela, it was about the family, Tasha, and it was about drug dealing. That's it. It got whack, it got weird when they started adding the law and the element so much, the lawyer element so much, that it lost its flavor, it lost its touch, right? And adding all kind of random characters to make this whack. Now in Ghost, right, Ghost 2, I don't like the fact that Tariq has so much going on, right? So the fact that they have the Chahadas, I think that was a great addition, specifically with the great acting of Mary J. Blige, you know what I'm saying? I like Drew, the character. I like Zeke, Diane, D. Kane was a lot of fun too, right? But when they had the storyline with the professors, that was going too far. You know what I'm saying? Jabari and Carrie, too far. I'm like, I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to make this almost like Angela and Ghost Part 2. But why don't you do that with Tariq? And guess what? They tried to do that with Tariq. Tariq and Lauren. Tariq and Deanna. Tariq and that other random chick. Right? Effie or something like that. To a point where you're like, okay, you're doing too much. You're doing way too much. You're putting too many layers. Right? And then they bring in Cooper Sax's niece randomly on the show, and I'm like, why can't you find other ways to do that, right? Which really makes me question the writing on the show. The writing was very, very suspect, okay? Extremely suspect, to the point where you're like, okay, you're doing too much. And another thing I really didn't like is the acting sometimes, specifically from Tariq himself, right? The actor is Michael Rainey Jr., and from also his best friend, Gianna Paolo, who played Brayden, right? Their chemistry was off a lot of the time, for one, even though they're trying to make this Ghost and Tommy, right? It was completely off. Back when we were watching the show, Ghost and Tommy actually had great chemistry. It was a great brother. It was real, you know? But Brayden and Tariq seem forced. And their acting is so suspect at times. I know that Tariq is actually a young character. Like, he's a young guy. I believe he's like 20, 21. Okay. Which is fair. You know what I'm saying? You can't become a great actor at such a young age. Also, Braden, not a great actor. But at the same time, you're working with the Lauren character. She played her role really well. Even Kane is the new character, played his role incredibly well. Even Drew, right? So you have other quote unquote young characters who were out acting the main guy a lot of the time. And a lot of times he almost shrinks in these scenes. He has the same expressions. And Tariq is just not he has an interesting story, an interesting background, but Tariq does not act it that well, to the point where you're like, bruh, this nigga's kind of whack. He's kind of lame. You know what I mean? And you're like, wow, until basically the last 2 episodes where you're like, okay, his acting has slightly improved. Even him acting drunk was weird. You remember that scene at the funeral? And it was just so disappointing. You know what I mean? So disappointing. And talking about the ending was a little disappointing. Now, let me give you an example. There was a new drug dealer who came in the game in New York. His name was Rico, right? I thought his character was going to be incredibly interesting, but they shoot him up in 1 episode later. It's like, damn, you know what I mean? They bring in Tommy around the end, and it's like, why are you doing this? Are you trying to set up for the next show? Is that why? But didn't you do that before? Didn't you do that in season 6? It's kind of like they were forcing older characters on us, right? Out of nowhere. To the point where you're like, okay, why is Tasha getting released like this? Why are they accelerating the ending? It felt super rushed. To the point where they said, okay, we're not going to make this subvert anymore. We're going to make it overt. We're going to make it look like Tariq is the new ghost, right? We're just going to say it flat out. And it's like, damn, do you think the audience is that dumb? I just didn't like it. I did not like the ending. It was super rushed. It was super forced. Putting Tasha in witness protection plan so she doesn't have to be in season 2 of Ghost. I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending. But we can talk about what I did like, though. I did like the action set pieces. The action was on point. Okay, the shootouts on point. The fights on point. Even the drug dealing. The drug dealing was pretty realistic to what happens in university campuses today or college campuses today, right? So the action sequences were great. Tariq was not a part of like most of them, really. You know what I mean? But Kane came through with some great sequences. They're making it super obvious. They're trying to make this Kane guy the 50 Cent of the show. You know what I mean? He had some great action sequences. Obviously, Tommy pulled up amazing sequences. And the surprise thug, the surprise shooter in this show was, Mary J. Blige as Monet. I was like, God damn, she's a savage. Like, you don't want to mess with her. Some Griselda Blanco shit. I was like, God damn. So I was thoroughly impressed by that. That's for one. I was really impressed by the action sequences. It was almost movie quality. And some of the action sequences were better than a lot of movie action sequences. It reminded me a bit of like Den of Thieves, right? Which is another movie that 50 Cent was associated with. He acted in that. Another thing I really liked was Cooper Saxe and Method Man as, I think his name was, let me get this correctly, Davis, Lawyer Davis. I really liked their chemistry. I really liked them battling in court, especially around episode 6 and 7, how they worked together to get Tariq, right? I really liked their sequences. I really liked their acting, right? I wish that they went a bit deeper into, Method Man's character and like his background. But the fact that him and Sax were playing like a game of chess, right? The entire season, I really like that, and how they accelerated around the end. And to a certain point, I was thinking, damn, why don't these two niggas have a show, right? Cooper Saxe is ruthless, like a whole evil scammer guy willing to do anything to win, and so is Davis. So it's almost like a cat and mouse game. And I really, really like that. I really, really like that. And I thought, damn, we need more of this, right? Now, what I really liked on a more deeper level was the relationship between mother and sons. Mother and sons. This is like a low-key subplot or a layer that they're trying to do, and that's the relationship between mother and sons. And what we saw with the original Power Show was mostly relationship between fathers and sons, right? But we didn't go as deep into the relationships of mother and sons. So you see in this show, Monet's relationship with Cain, right? That's huge, and that really it brings in the climax of the show. Tariq's relationship with Tasha, his mom, right? That's overtly in the first half of the show, the first 3-4 episodes. How Tariq is trying to grind to get his mother out of jail. It was super impressive to see that. I really like Monet's relationship with Drew, right? Having a gay son who could be the next leader of the drug empire, right? That relationship was super cool to analyze and look at, and the way that they interacted with each other. And then you see near the very end, Monet's relationship with Tariq, right? That she's basically his pseudo mother, and they say it as such literally in the last episode, right? And I really like that. So here's the thing. What is the final score? What's my overall review? I'm gonna give it an overall score of 6.9 out of 10. 6.9 out of 10. Why is that? Based on it had more good than bad, for sure, right? The good overpowered the bad, but it didn't blow me away. It didn't go wow, right? Now, season 1 to 3 of Power had me say wow a lot. You know what I mean? Because not only of the twists and turns, the plot points, for the simple fact that it was more focused, not too many layers, pretty simple, right? Had great acting and great twists and turns that made sense, right? So what happened with this season of Ghost, and hopefully they improve in season 2, season 3, they got the green light for season 3. It felt too much like season 6 of Power, right? Season 6 of Power, but better, a little bit better, because season 6 of Power was absolute garbage. I didn't like it. But it felt also modern, which was also a bonus point, right? So moving forward, I would like for them to stick to a more simple aesthetic point of view. And I think that would make this a lot better. But let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. Patreon family already seen this first. I appreciate y'all. Big Baby JTV. I'm out.